Alrighty, so it's 7 o'clock on Monday, October 7, 2019, and we'll call the meeting to order, and the first thing we'll do is stand for a moment of silent reflection. Alright, is there any declaration of peculiar interest or general nature thereof? I just have one, which is the closed session, and that's under section 292C, and which is the Napier Schoolhouse, which I know as the Napier Women's Institute Hall, and my wife is the secretary treasurer of that organization. Moving to the minutes of the previous meetings, and those are the September 16th, 2019 regular meeting, the September 24th Community Hub and Park minutes, and the September 30th, 2019 special council meeting minutes. We have a mover and seconder for those, Councillor McKinnon and Councillor Brody. Is there any errors or omissions? All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. So one public meeting for tonight, and that's at 7:05, and that's the zoning bylaw amendment number 6 of 2019, and it will be amendment 01 2019, which are being dealt with together. We're going to do the correspondence. The first section is the upcoming conferences, seminars, and meetings. We have our special policy area, an open house and public meeting for Thursday, October 17th, 2019, and that's going to be at the Fire Hall. And then our next regular council meeting is Tuesday, October 22nd, and that's to accommodate for the federal election, which is being held on Monday, and then followed by Monday, November 4th, and then 2019 Warden's Banquet is being held on November 9th at the county building, and hopefully we can attend, and I believe Jennifer at the invitation that was emailed out. The Remembrance Day service is being held on Sunday, November 10th, 2019, and that's at 11 a.m. at the Adelaide Metcalfe Fire Hall in Kerwood. And I believe the public committee is well underway with getting everything going, so I'm sure we'll get an invitation to council soon. And then the first item for correspondence is from AORs, and it's a joint meeting being held on October 25th, 2019 in Mount Bridges. Item number 2 is from the Aggregate Ontario Aggregate Summit, November 5th, 2019, and that's in Zora. Moving into recommended readings. Item number 3 is from Ontario SPCA, and it's a letter regarding animal welfare. Item number 4 is from MMAH, Building Code Service Transformation. Item number 5 is from MNRF, Proposed Changes to the Aggregate Resources Act. Item number 6 is from Blue Water Recycling. It's their September 2019 notes. Item number 7 is from St. Clair Region Conservation Authority. It's their conservation update for September this year. Item number 8 is from Hydro One, and it's regarding the wood pole replacement. Item number 9 is from Nick Stockman. It's the 2019 submission to the Adelaide Metcalfe Township Council regarding the hub and park. I believe we have a motion regarding this one. Mm-hmm. Is there any comments at all? Okay. Councillor Clark?
Item number 2, is our building inspector going to that?
Sorry.
For the building code services transformation in China?
He has a copy of it. I don't know if he signed up for it yet.
Oh, okay.
We'll follow up with him.
Okay.
Councillor McKinnon?
I also wondered if the chief building official might be going to the aggregate meeting, because that could have a bearing here in the municipality.
I don't know if we've sent it to him for an invitation.
Okay.
We can ask him if he'd be interested.
I think you should.
So we have a motion in front of us regarding item number 9, and it's resolve the council acknowledge receipt of correspondence number 9 as submitted by Nick Stockman. His email regarding the potential creation of a community hub and improvements to the Kerwood Park. Mm-hmm. Okay. Councillor McKinnon and Deputy Mayor Hendricks, is there any discussion on this? All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. Item number 10 is letters in regards to the storage facility for sewage sludge biosolid biofertilizer, and that's from M. Fishner, R. Fishner, and R. Fishner, and R. Loveland. Is there any comments on those ones? We have a motion in front of us that council acknowledge the receipt of CC number 10. Deputy Mayor Hendricks and Councillor Clark. All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. And then item number 11 is a letter, cover letter from the Cahills and McLean family regarding the biosolids storage facility, along with additional letters that go along with those as well. We have a motion in front of us that resolve that council acknowledge receipt of CC 11 as submitted by Fred and Gail Cahill and Pam and Doug McLean, letters opposed to the biosolids storage facility being erected in the township. Okay. Councillor McKinnon and Councillor Clark. All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. And just in case there's any long discussion on the action required items, we're going to jump into the public meeting and then go back to those. Okay, so with that, we need a motion to resolve the public meeting to hear official plan amendment OPA 01-2019, zoning bylaw amendment Z06-2019, Dortmund's at 29025 Center Road be opened at 7:07. Councillor McKinnon and Councillor Brody. All those in favor? Opposed, and that's good. Okay, and before I ask Jay and Hannah, am I right? Good job, I got it, finally. There you go. So the purpose of the following public hearing for Adelaide Metcalfe Council is to give the members of council, as well as the general public, an opportunity to hear all interested persons with respect to the application before council this evening. The public is advised that comments expressed and written material presented are a matter of public record available for full disclosure. If a person or public body files an appeal of decision made this evening to the local planning appeal tribunal without having made a written submission to council, the tribunal may dismiss the appeal. If you wish to be notified of a decision, please submit a written request to the township, and a sign-in sheet has been provided for your convenience. Would you like to come forward, or? There you go. I believe Erin's provided you with her report.
Yes.
Excellent.
Alright. Yes, good evening everyone, and I'd like to thank Erin for the opportunity to review the report with her at tonight's meeting to get up to speed. We're happy that staff have recommended to approve the redesignation, rezoning to permit the establishment of the Dortmund's head office at the northeast corner of the site.
So before you continue, I'll have Erin go through your report first, if that's okay,
Sure.
and then we'll continue on.
Alright, so I'll try to make this quick.
Yeah.
Council will remember the information report that was brought here in, what was it, last month, I believe? So the applicants are proposing redesignation of the property being 29025 Center Road, located at the intersection of County Road 81 and 22. So they're looking for the redesignation of the entire site to add a special agricultural policy area to permit the farm equipment sales and service establishment that the Dortmunds run, and to continue to permit the existing single detached dwelling and all the agricultural uses currently on the site. Further, they are looking for a zoning bylaw amendment to rezone the entire subject lands from general agriculture to site-specific rural commercial, being RC-5, to permit, again, the sales establishment with accessory offices, as well as acknowledge the existing agricultural uses and preclude any development for further residential dwellings on the property. So I won't go through the background, we've already gone through this a bit in my information report. So initially I had provided you with all of the policies that were applicable to this application, or these applications, touching on the provincial policy statement, further the guidelines and permitted uses in the prime agricultural area, as well as the county official plan, local official plan, and our local zoning bylaw. So I've done an analysis based on the policies originally provided, and I've sort of indicated under my planning comments sort of subsection within the analysis. So I did want to just touch on a few of my biggest takeaways from the evaluation. So while I do agree with the consultants that it does generally comply with the provincial policy statement as it is an agriculturally related commercial use, I did still have reservations about the initial redesignation of the entire site itself. So I have evaluated based on sort of the Dortmund's reestablishment of their headquarters here. I do find that it generally meets the policies within the provincial policy statement, similar to the county official plan. However, I do want to really sort of highlight why my analysis has been to reduce the scope of the project. So all throughout my analysis, I kept saying, you know, if it cannot reasonably be established in a settlement area, then, you know, agriculture-related commercial uses can be located in the agricultural area. So again, I know that we originally discussed this with the consultant's presentation. The commercial corridor to the south and the fact that there's recently redesignated commercial and zoned commercial land. So my argument is still that would be a more appropriate location for the commercial hub of the scale that they're proposing. So generally complies with the county official plan as well. It's when I get into the analysis within our local official plan that I've kind of found difficulty in supporting the consultant's analysis, simply based on the fact that our definition in our official plan says commercially related agricultural uses are to be small in scale and to not take land out of agricultural production. So again, I'm of the opinion that the proposed farm-related commercial hub, and more specifically the redesignation of the site in its entirety and the rezoning of the site in its entirety, I don't find that it conforms with our official plan policy being small in scale generally. I would be in support of the redesignation and the rezoning if it is scaled back to just include the location that was proposed by the Dortmunds initially for their headquarters, located at the, again, as Hannah said, along Egremont Road in the northwest corner. And you can see in my location maps, I have highlighted my recommendation for redesignation and rezoning. And again, it's a little bit complicated in order to really capture the fact that if they choose to go ahead with the severance of the dwelling, that it captures the required zoning amendment that we require for each surplus farm dwelling severance. So again, I would also be in support of the application if it is scoped down to what I've indicated.
6.5 acres, is that?
Yes,
Okay.
6.2, and that can be up for discussion. It was more just that was originally what the Dortmunds had indicated for their use in their site plan that was submitted. So the county engineer, you might recall from the previous meeting, he had some reservations. He would like to see, or would have liked to see, insurances that the Egremont road access into the site could sustain a left turn lane if required. And he is generally satisfied with the report that was submitted by the applicants from Frank Berry, who did a traffic analysis. So again, my recommendation for this report is approval, or that amendment number 12 of the official plan be adopted subject to a reduction in area, and further that application for zoning bylaw amendment be approved subject to a holding provision and a reduction in area as well. And I will comment that the holding provision I have indicated is simply to ensure that site plan approval is granted. And once that is granted, the H symbol can be removed from the property.
Thank you, Aaron. Hannah.
Alright.
Sorry about that.
No worries, sorry for jumping in. Yes, thank you. We are happy to see that there is support for the establishment of the Dortmund Brothers head office on this property. However, we are concerned about staff's recommendation to limit the extent of the rezoning and redesignation to just that corner of the site. Our client has kind of their long-term vision is for that property is being able to expand their business as needed and also explore opportunities to co-locate with other similar businesses that would not be of a size suitable for the commercial corridor or settlement areas that cater to the agricultural community. So to have that opportunity for co-location, kind of creating a hub there. So we would like to really recommend that staff or that council choose to redesignate and rezone the entire property to allow for that policy framework to take place. I would also like to note that there's still opportunities to control development on that site via site plan approval. So any kind of expansion would have to come to council for approval, and so that would serve as kind of a check on development if council decided that. But we'd just like to establish that policy framework in order to avoid having our client continually coming back to request rezonings and official plan amendments and have to repeat this process over again. We'd like to establish a clear vision for the site. If council does not feel that perhaps they can support a full rezoning of the property at that time, we'd like to suggest an alternate solution, which we enclosed in our letters that we submitted this afternoon, that the entire parcel be redesignated to the special policy area to establish that policy framework, but that the zoning be limited to approximately 10.4 acres, the northern half of the site with frontage onto Egremont, and that way, the area zoning is limited, and then in the future, if our client decides that it would be necessary to expand the zoning, we would come back and have that conversation, but the underlying policy framework would be in place. We're also available to answer any questions about the proposal as far as the application as well, and our clients are here as well.
I'd just like to add, if I may, through the mayor, with respect to staff comments in regard to the local official plan, with regard to the sizing of uses, just a reminder that we are amending the official plan, and so the intent and purpose of the application before council this evening is to recognize a special policy area which deviates from that standard policy framework that's out there. So I don't believe that council is bound tightly by the consideration that was provided in terms of limiting it to that northwest corner only. And the thing I would like to, from a practical perspective, just build on Hannah's comments, that as the Dortmunds move forward, I was speaking with their engineer today in terms of timing to move ahead on construction. As they move forward, essentially once their building is built, they're in a completed situation. They're going to have to come back if they want to try to attract a co-location, because at that point in time they're not going to have any designation of zoning. So it's very difficult to market an opportunity without a designation of zoning on the property that can apply to more than just their particular building. And so I would like to request the council to give some consideration to those implications as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Before I go to members of council, is there anyone in the gallery wishing to speak to this application? Seeing none, any questions or comments from council? Deputy Mayor Hendricks?
Yeah, I'm not looking for any secrets about who you might be dealing with. I guess an example of the businesses that you would partner with that wouldn't be suitable for a more commercial area, I guess.
3 years, right. Really what they're looking at here is these are going to be land uses that are serving the agricultural community and similar to their own use that are of a size that aren't easily readily capable of accommodating themselves within a more urban fabric. And there's also the issue, particularly if it's related to machinery and equipment, there's the turning movements and the interaction with the traffic. And that was one thing that we had discussed with our traffic consultant who had concurred. As we get down onto Center Road, moving down toward the 402 interchange, the number of vehicle trips increases dramatically in that particular area. So those are the types of users that our client has sort of identified, and they may be able to answer more specifically in our discussions. That's what
Okay, any other questions, comments? Councillor Clark?
So where does the severance of the surplus farm dwelling come into this conversation, or it doesn't, Aaron?
Through the mayor to Councillor Clark. I know that the applicants had originally come in for the consent. They have now indicated with the submission of these applications that they're not sure if they're going to proceed. I'm not sure if they've landed on the fact that they wish not to proceed. So that's certainly something that can be contemplated. I mean, I haven't developed the zoning or anything like that for consideration this evening. So that's if they indicate one way or the other which they would like to go, that would be fine for me. It's ultimately up to them.
For changing the zoning, will that hinder or help that situation? Potentially?
Through Mayor Smith to Councillor Clark. Again, I'm not, I kind of crafted my recommendation based on the fact that the surplus the consent would go through to limit the residential dwellings on the site currently, as well as to allow for the agricultural uses to continue.
Thanks for clarifying.
Councillor Brody?
Through Mayor to Aaron. So you're basically saying you don't want the whole property to be zoned because you want to have it as a small scale, a smaller scale, correct?
I think that in this location it's more appropriate if it's small in scale. I don't know that the intent of the local official plan policies are really to establish large commercial areas like this. I think it's meant to be more allow diversification of farmers for economic growth. If you have a farm and you can have, if you're a welder or if you have other uses that directly relate to the farmers and that sort of thing, then we allow for that to be located in the agricultural area. Again, something to this scale, in my opinion, would be more appropriate again in the commercial corridor, someplace that has servicing, that has upgraded roads for appropriate traffic access and that sort of thing. And I don't think that it's just not what I would contemplate in this area.
Go ahead.
So my comment to that is this is on basically a north end of a commercial corridor. We're not far from a commercial corridor. If you say we let your recommendation go through, and basically that's going to cut this property in half, you're down to a 15-acre farm parcel. Well, to me, that's not a very big farm parcel. I mean, we should be looking at future development on this property if we're going to do it. We have a highway access, that's not a question, correct?
Mm-hmm.
That's all fine. So basically, if you're going to let them build their operation that they want to on the smaller recommended scale, you've only got left a small scale piece of land. So that's not even I can maybe agree with your thought if that was still another 50 acres or something like that, but it won't be. That's small. So when you say small, to me that's small. And it is on a corridor that is a lot of expansion happening. Yeah, it's on the north end of it, but
just for clarification, the property boundaries is not going to change unless we unless the surplus farm road in Severance actually goes through.
Correct.
Yep.
Mhm.
Checking your Hendricks, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I'm just, okay. Yeah, I guess, just to kind of echo what Mike is saying, the pieces that are left, even if you wanted to take machinery down the, 81 highway, that's a nightmare. If we're talking about farm uses, that is going to require bringing in farm machinery, like if you're talking about a fabricating shop type of deal there, the last place you wanna put it is in the commercial corridor. But, yeah. I understand you don't wanna lose agricultural land, but, as a farmer, I know that's not the best piece of dirt in the township. So. And it's not tiled by the looks of this map.
Councillor Clark?
I'm not opposed to it being as presented, not by you, Mayor, but by the applicant, for the same reason. I think it is in a sort of a high, like a commercial area, if you will, like in my mind. And so if you were gonna expand or develop, to me that would be a logical place. My only concern would be is that I don't know my zoning rules enough in this to know if you zone it that, how restrictive we could be on that property, just so that we don't have excited neighbors over something that they don't want there. So I'd want that clarified first, for me anyway. 'Cause I'm not that smart, I know the rest of you might know it, but I don't.
Councillor Pendon, and then Councillor Brody?
Through the mayor to Aaron, would Councillor Clark's concerns not be covered under the special agriculture site plan or specific zoning to that area?
Through Mayor Smith to Councillor McKinnon. I just want to call you Betty Ann.
That's okay.
Certainly it can be crafted, I mean, it's up to everyone sort of agreeing, like, what we've proposed for the rural commercial zone, I can bring forward what the permitted uses are for that, if it's something that needs to be tailored, or if it will be triggered under site plan as well, so council will see the agreement as it's brought forward.
That would be
That's
my,
fine,
that would be on my ask
Yeah.
going forward, just like I said, I don't want
Yeah.
excited people for no reason.
Okay.
Councillor Brody?
So basically your idea of not severing the house off now is you don't want to hinder any future development, right? That would be my only, I wouldn't want to maybe see that house severed right now and then a whole bunch of expansion go around. So that's what you're kind of leaning towards now, or you're thinking?
I can make a comment.
Yeah.
If we are gonna go ahead after reviewing everything, I don't think we're going to, set the house.
Yeah, okay, that's what I,
The house is too good, and we probably have to get a decent dollar for it in order to flip it. And it's gonna bring neighbors there that we don't want.
yeah, okay.
So we're very serious about not going ahead with the severance of the surplus dwelling.
Yeah, okay.
And if you look at the lay of the land there, the north east corner is not a very practical piece for anything. It's basically 5 acres of, it's gonna end up being probably 5 acres of pasture.
Right.
Nice little corner to show off my lawnmower.
So the vision would be kind of a road coming in off the Egremont side and maybe going all the way on that west side, right?
Yes.
I mean, okay, that makes a lot of sense to me.
And what we're thinking about of other products and whatever are mostly wheel goods products, right? To go to complement our business now. Right now, we're in the village alley. We have no opportunity for any wheel goods products at all.
Yeah.
And if we get into that property, then we have
which takes up space.
Yeah, which takes up a lot of, laneway and gravel area, what we need more of.
So, Aaron, if council was to approve, what the applicant is recommending and asking for, is there a way that, the surplus farm dwelling severance is already approved, and technically they could follow through in approving that? Is there a way that we can have a condition in there that that is no longer allowed to go through? I'm just concerned about, making sure, so for example, if we were to just change that whole property to the special policy area, and the surplus farm dwelling severance, you're still able to technically sever it. And I understand that the idea is not to do that, but technically they still have the ability to do so. Could we just have a condition in there that that cannot be done?
Well, they do have, under their conditions, although it's been approved, it hasn't been fulfilled yet.
Yep.
One of the conditions is that it's appropriately rezoned to prevent further dwellings being created, as well as limiting agricultural use on the severed lot. So if they don't have
Got
the
it.
appropriate zoning in place, then it won't be able to be satisfied.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to make sure. Okay.
But I don't have a problem with them severing it as a surplus farm dwelling if maybe a family member, like I don't know your family or anything about you, but maybe they have a son or a daughter or granddaughter or grandson that potentially would want to live there, that would buy into the business, like the business model, not maybe actually buy in, but be on side with that. So, yeah.
If I can make a comment to that, we're already 3/4 of the way in that process already. I have a brother that's living in the house now.
Okay.
If I can make a comment to that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just for really my client's purposes, one of the challenges, depending on the type of operation that's going forward, if an environmental compliance is required, that environmental compliance would have to consider the fact it's a separate and conveyable lot with regard to any emissions that may come forward from an operation, and that will play into the ability to locate other uses on the property. So that is the concern that I've advanced to our client from our perspective, with it being a
And that would
separate
be
conveyable lot.
concern too.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions, comments? Okay, anything else at all? Okay,
Just one last motion. There's a recommendation to put the entire property into a holding provision, and I recognize that planners like belts and suspenders at the same time. The property will be subject to site plan control, with it being in the commercial zone. Am I correct? Within accordance to your site plan control bylaw? And therefore, any development would be subject to a site plan. And the reason I bring this up simply is because if we go through this process, we put a holding provision on, the applicant is the only one with a right of appeal on that. Typically, if everything is done and complete and the site plan agreement is signed, really what it ends up meaning is there's a 2-month extra process, plus a fee associated with the removal of that holding provision prior to building permits being released and construction to be able to start. Having that holding provision on that part of the property would simply serve to be an impediment to the Dortmunds to be able to get their construction started. If the municipality could consider that allowing that particular part of the site to be relieved as an interim use within the holding provision, or to be allowed as a use with the holding provision in place, that would be of assistance to our client.
I understand. Okay. Okay, Councilor Brody?
I'd like to make a motion that however we have to word it properly, that the whole property can be looked at for future development, and I would like not to see Dorman's get held up on starting to build, basically. However,
so we're technically in the public meeting process right now, so,
Okay.
if there's any other questions or comments, we'll deal with them now, and then when we close the public meeting, and then
Okay.
we'll be able to have a motion.
I was just trying to clarify what you were saying, that's okay, say it.
May as well clarify it now, so then
Okay.
if the planners have a
So-
comment, they can make a comment now.
Yeah,
'Cause
so
once the
you're
public
saying-
meeting's done, I'm gonna cut
So
them
you're
off.
saying you want the whole thing with the blue ring around it, not a red? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'd like to see the whole 25-acre property be able to look for them for future expansion, basically.
Okay.
Because I understand what they're saying.
kind of
If they're
location?
regulated to a small size, and then all of a sudden they want to take on another short line business or something, and they can't, do it. That's hindering a whole new project for them.
So
And to me,
what's
the
the
25
total
acres is not a big parcel.
Is the whole package 25 acres?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, I thought so.
Okay, is there any other questions or comments before we close the public meeting? No, motion to end the public meeting at 7:36. Councillor Brody and Councillor Clark, all those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. Alright, so we have the recommendation in front of us from the planner, however, we're open to different options.
So I already bring up mine.
Yes.
Okay. Can we just replay that on video or anything?
Jennifer can do that.
Jennifer, can you read that?
So if I'm understanding this correctly, your motion, you're wanting to put the whole 25 acres to be rezoned from A to RC5. Is that correct?
Basically, whatever has to happen to be, have it zoned, so they can expand in the future.
Is that right? Am I saying that right?
So I believe, the recommendation from Aaron was just to have the
Correct.
northwest corner
Yeah.
designated in the official plans and special policy area. What the request is from the planners is that, or from the applicant, is that the whole property be designated as a special policy area. And they're asking that only the north half be
Okay.
rezoned to from A to RC5, but you're asking that it be, the whole property be designated and the whole property be zoned?
Well, actually, but
I'll let you talk, yeah.
I'm sorry, I recognize I
Yeah.
shouldn't be, but I wanted to add two things. What we requested was the whole property.
Mm.
The second piece was if council couldn't find it within itself to do the whole, that we requested half for the zoning. But what I was going to mention is it may be easier for Jennifer if it was, in fact, what Councilor Brody was suggesting, to refer to the application as submitted, be up for approval. If I'm not speaking out of line in terms of that, so it might be an easier way to word the motion.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's the one. So I submitted as meaning the
as a,
the entire property being redesignated to the agricultural special policy area and rezoned from A to RC-5.
that was their original.
Okay, so that was moved by Councilor Brody, seconder. Deputy Mayor Hendricks,
Can't discuss it if we don't second
discussion?
So through the mayor, Karen, can you elaborate on this holding provision, what that means?
Certainly. It's generally something that we add to rezonings when site plan approval will be required. I sort of kept it in thinking that, it's still going to be generally an agricultural property, even though it will have the sort of rural commercial use rezoning. But it's certainly something that, now that I'm thinking of the wording within our site plan approval bylaw, it does specify commercial uses. So while it's not generally an agricultural use, it's specifically commercial. So I suspect that the consultant, Jay McGuffin, is correct in saying that it still will fall under site plan regardless of the holding symbol. And he is correct also that it would add a time lag in order to remove the H symbol. It's something that we would need to bring back to council for approval.
Is that clear?
Yeah, but I still have another question, but I can't ask it, so.
Okay, any other questions, comments on the motion that's on the floor? And just further clarification, Aaron, if this motion passes, then can you explain to council where it goes from there for the official plan amendment?
So we will have an OPA drafted. We can bring it to the next council meeting for signing, and we'll bring a draft bylaw as well for the rezoning portion. The official plan is a two-step approval process, so once it is approved at the local level, it then goes to county council for approval. The zoning will not be read for the third time until county council has adopted and approved the official plan amendment. Then we come back and do the third reading of the bylaw, and then it will all be in place for the applicants.
Deputy Mayor Hendricks.
Now, given that this has to go to the county, I'm concerned that the idea of keeping agricultural land may be an issue. So I'm more comfortable with the alternative plan that was submitted by the applicants, because I think even though this is close to the commercial zone, there's still about 180 acres from there till you get to the commercial zone along that corridor. And I think it'll take a while to fill this, but I think if it fails at the county, then they're even farther behind. So I think this alternative is probably a better bet.
Any other discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
What's the motion on
The
the floor?
motion is to designate the entire property and to rezone the entire property to RC-5.
Can I make a comment first?
Okay.
Would that hold it up too long? Going to the county?
Going to the
It
county,
has to.
sorry?
It has to.
It has to because
Does
it's
that
not
hold it
in
up too long?
compliance.
It has to.
We have no alternative, the county is our approval authority for our official plan amendment, so we have to do that.
Okay.
Just a comment, if the county objects and takes it to a hearing, then yes, they're held out. Right? If you don't approve what we've approved.
Then we do require their approval for
Yes.
our official plan amendments.
All those in favor?
What are we in favor of now?
As
Okay.
submitted, the
I'll
25
ask
acres.
Jennifer to read the motion.
As they-
You're all set to them.
I did.
Yeah.
So, resolve that council approve zoning bylaw application Z06 2019 and official plan amendment OPA 01 2019 to be rezoned as proposed by the applicant, whereas the whole property be redesignated to agricultural special policy area and rezoned from A to RC5.
Okay. Are you wanting to ask a question or vote?
No, I'm voting.
Okay. All those in favor? Okay. Opposed? And that's carried. Alrighty. Okay, thank you very much. I think is that it for Aaron? Do we have something else for her?
She's done?
Is everybody clear, before Aaron goes, is everybody clear as to what the next step is then? Or any official plan, yeah, so any official plan amendment then if we approve it, it then goes to county council for approval or,
Before we
Yeah.
go through reading.
And so I will bring forward an actual OPA for you to review, as well as the zoning bylaw for the next council meeting.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you.
Right there.
Nice, thanks, Erin.
Alright, so we'll go back into our correspondence. So we have item number 12, and it's from the Township of North Glengarry, and it's a resolution regarding the pupils' accommodation review guidelines.
I'd support.
Okay, so moved by Deputy Mayor Hendricks. Do we have a seconder?
Sorry, where are we? Turning-
So it's action required, so
Hang on.
Yes.
seconded by Councilor McCain. That's okay.
Got it, okay.
Okay. Any discussion on this one? All those in favor for support? Opposed, and that's carried. Item number 13 is from the municipality of South Huron. It's a resolution correspondence to Minister York regarding conservation authorities.
Yes, I'd support it.
Okay, so moved by Councilor McKinnon. Do we have a seconder for supporting that? Councilor Clark. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. And then item number 14 is from St. Clair Conservation Authority and its staff report in response to the request for comments.
I'll move the motion.
Okay, moved by Councilor McKinnon. Seconder.
I don't know if I missed the meeting where this was discussed, but I have no idea what this is. Is this part of the,
The changes in the Fisheries and Oceans Act, and it's saying that conservation authorities can, the governments will only support mandatory programs. So some of the funding that used to be based on a 50-50 split, now it's about 1783. They pay 17, we pay 83. And the Conservation Authority, St. Clair, has lost approximately $150,000 through the cuts. And some of the programs at St. Clair are self-sustaining, like the education program and the tree planting program and the conservation. The parks aren't part of their mandate, but they bring in a lot of revenue and they're self-sustaining. So.
okay, there's a whole bunch of stuff behind this that didn't open for me last time.
Any other questions or comments on this one? Councilor McKinnon is moving for support of this one. Okay, seconded by Councilor Clark. Okay. Councilor Brady, a question? No. Okay, all those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. Alrighty, and then the last one is correspondence number 15. It's from Brian Boyle Associates, and it's the public meeting report from September 24th, 2019 regarding the hub and Kerwood Park. And the motion in front of us today is resolved that Council receives the public input workshop report from Brian Boyle Associates regarding the September 24th, 2019 public meeting for the potential creation of a community hub and improvements to the Kerwood Park. Councilor Clark and Councilor McKinnon, any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. Okay, so we need to have a motion to resolve that Council receive and file correspondence items CC1 to CC9. Can I guess?
CC8.
8.
Yes.
Who wants to jump up in this one? Deputy Mayor Hendricks and Councilor McKinnon. All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. Okay. So we'll jump into our staff reports, and our first one is from our clerk, Jennifer.
Thank you, Mayor Smith. Before we get started, can we have a motion to include Kathy's new report that was presented
yes.
on the desk?
Sorry,
That's okay. I know.
I was just on a roll today. So we do need a motion to include staff report number 11, which is from our RCO treasurer, and it's regarding conditional building permit agreement for 28610 Center Road. Okay. Councilor Brody and Councilor Cannon, all those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. Good
Thank
catch.
you. Okay, so my first report, actually, 1 and 2 kind of go hand in hand. The first one is regarding a petition for drainage works by property owners for Peters Drain, and the property owners have requested that the existing tile drain be reconstructed. An engineer's report is required under Section 78 under the Drainage Act. The respective engineer's report will provide for apportionment of costs for the drain. The impact to the township is not known at this time. So my motion is the resolve that council receive the petition for Drainage Works Peters Drain staff report as presented by myself. And my second recommendation is resolve that council accept the petition for drainage work by owners for lots 4, 5, and 6, concession 1 SER, and that Street Associates be appointed to determine the validity of the petition.
Mine's doing the same thing.
It's a large file.
Oh, okay. So this is strictly just the petition, is that correct?
Yep.
There's no information from our drainage person or anything, we're just receiving the petition?
Correct.
I'll move that we receive it.
Could I just ask a question before we
Okay.
take a seconder? Did the petitioners ask for Street Associates?
Through the mayor, no, but that's who we use for our drainage apportionment and assessments is Street Associates.
Okay, always?
If I may, I'll speak to that. At the time of amalgamation, there was a resolution put forth that Street Associates be appointed as the drainage engineers.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilor Clark?
Indefinitely?
It just, that's all the motion read at the time.
So because in light of what the road costs were, we found out Street was on the high end, that maybe we have a duty to get a second quote on that.
If I may, we can do that. Streets has been doing it for a long time, and it does help with the continuity of the reports as well as our drainage map and the watershed evaluations. A new person would have to come in and be brought up to speed on all of our drains, so they're not usually standalone works, they're usually involved with others. And it is based on a percentage basis.
Percentage of the cost of the work.
cost of the work.
So it's not gonna be different if somebody else, cause Street's not actually doing the work, they're just doing the engineering of it.
Correct.
So that cost, are they the ones that tender for the work, or is it the municipality?
If I may, they prepare the tenders, but the actual tendering comes through the municipality.
Okay.
We approve and award the tenders.
Okay, I feel better about that.
But then through here to have the reports are given to the contractors, or they see the estimated.
Absolutely, yes.
So they can just follow that and.
It is a totally open and public process, so they are aware of that. However, the contracts aren't awarded based on the contractor, it is by cost. And council does approve those.
Councilor Brody? Okay.
I'm good with that.
And just another comment with that, I, as you know, sitting as a councillor however many years ago as my first term, I asked the same question because I was also concerned about the dollar amount and everything else. And the one thing that I understood more so is that, you know, with this drain, the say the Peters drain or whatever drain it is in the municipality, Streets have been the ones that have been looking at it, so they know all the information, they know all the details about it. So if we were to go ahead and switch to another drainage firm or another engineering firm, then it would be a whole new learning curve for that drain, whatever it is. So yeah, it does seem like we're kind of stuck in a rut always using Streets, but there's a reason for it. Yeah. So we need to have the motion then to receive the petition, which was moved by Councillor Clark. I think you moved to receive the petition, seconded by Deputy Mayor Hendricks. All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. And the next one is to resolve that council accept the petition for drainage works by the owners of lots 4, 5, and 6, concession 1 SER, and that Spruce Associates be appointed to determine the validity of the petition, subject to notification of the appropriate conservation authorities. Okay, Deputy Hendricks and Councillor Brody, all those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried.
And that's 2 county roads going around it, so it won't be us that it affects.
My second report is another petition for drainage works by property owners for McKean Drain. The property owners have requested that the existing tile drain be replaced, and an engineer's report will be required under Section 78 under the Drainage Act. The respective engineer's report will provide for apportionment of costs for the drain, and the impact to the township is not known at this time. And again, I have 2 motions there. Resolve that council receive the petition for drainage work from McKean Drain staff report as presented by myself. And the second recommendation is resolved that council accept the petition for drainage work by owners for Lot 2, Concession 3, NER, and that Spruce Associates be appointed to determine the validity of the petition, subject to the notification of the appropriate conservation authority.
Deputy Hendricks?
I'm pretty sure that it's not lot 2, concession 2. Lot 2 is on the west end of the township, unless they renumber the lots at the 81 highway. It should be lot 20 something.
Oh, okay, well, it could be with the attachment that's on there. It
Well,
looks
I'm
like
just
lot
now-
2 on the form.
Oh, okay. I don't have an attachment.
Yeah, you gotta click underneath, it says petition for drainage works by owners. Maybe it's not coming up, but it looks
No,
like a 2.
I don't have an attachment.
I think it's 22. It's
22?
Look,
Is that 22?
yeah, so we 2,
Okay,
2.
sorry, it looked like a 2 to me, so
Or-
I wasn't sure, but I can change that.
And would you like another motion for this? You have the Peters drain and the McKean drain in one motion.
That's okay to receive the staff report, it's just to appoint Spruce Associates, just have separate for each drain.
Gotcha. Okay, so motion to receive the petition. Okay, Deputy Hendricks and Councillor Brody. All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. And a motion to resolve the council accept the petition for drainage works by owners for lot 2, or 22. Was trying to figure out which one's which. Concession 3, NER, and that Spruce Associates be appointed to determine the validity of the petitions, subject to the notification of the appropriate conservation authorities. Mover and seconder. Okay. Deputy Hendricks and Councillor Clark. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried.
My next report is regarding the Sago Bayfield Maitland Valley Drinking Water Source Protection Committee reduction and call for nominations. This report is to inform council of changes to the structure of the Sago Bayfield Source Protection Authority Committee and also of the vacancies and call for nominations on the committee. On September 26th, correspondence was received from Mary Lynn McDonald, who is the program supervisor of Sago Bayfield Maitland Valley Source Protection Region. And that provided notice that's attached there of the Sago Bayfield Source Protection Authority's decision to reduce the size of the Source Protection Committee from 15 to 12 members, which will result in the South and West municipal groupings being combined. Adelaide Metcalfe is in the South grouping with Lambton Shores, Warwick, Middlesex Centre, North Middlesex, and Lucan-Biddulph, and the West grouping is South Huron, Perth, South, Bluewater, West Perth, and Central Huron. Ian Bremner is our current South representative, and he has indicated that he is not interested in having his name stand to represent the combined Southwest region. The West region has also been in contact with their current representative, Dave Frayne, and he has made known that he would like to continue on the committee to represent the combined Southwest region. The notice provided 60 days from the notice date to come to a consensus on who would represent the newly combined Southwest region on the Source Projection Committee. Adelaide Metcalfe staff would like to support the Western region and suggest that Dave Frayne be the representative for the Southwest region on the Sago Bayfield Maitland Valley Drinking Water Source Protection Committee for the 3-year term beginning January 1st, 2020. Separate from filing the combined Southwest Region Committee. The Source Protection Committee has 5 available positions to fill, and so have made a call for nominations. They are seeking individuals for the following vacancies: property owner, public at large, industry, commerce, environment. There's another notice there for the call of nominations and a news release regarding that. In review, the Asable Bayfield Maitland Valley Drinking Water Source Protection Committee will be reducing the number of members on the committee, which will result in the South and West regions being combined. We are in the South, and our local representative is not interested in remaining on the committee for the next term. All affected municipalities have until November 25th to come to a consensus. Seeing that the West representative would like to continue on the committee for the term starting in 2020, we see it appropriate that Dave Frang to continue on the committee as the representative for the new combined Southwest region as an experienced committee member. There's a link there that has a few words about Dave Frang that council's more than able to click on to view his background. There's no financial impacts to the 2019 budget. Resolved that council receive the Asable Bayfield Maitland Valley Drinking Water Source Protection Committee reduction and call for nominations report as presented by myself. And my other motion put forth is that council appoint Dave Frang to be the representative for the township for the newly formed Southwest region.
Thank you. Is there a mover and seconder to receive the report? Councilor Brody and Deputy Hendricks. All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. Is there any questions or comments on the report? Okay, so the recommendation here to resolve the council appoint Dave, what do you say, Frang?
Frang.
Frang, okay.
Yep.
Mover and seconder for that? Okay. Councilor Clark and Councilor McKinnon. All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried.
My next report. So this is the monthly bylaw enforcement for September, ending September 30th. And as you can see there, we had one old complaint, and I say old because it wasn't brought in the month of September, it was brought in the month of August. It has now been closed. And we did receive one new one, and it has closed because the complaint that was brought in is not regulated by the township, and OPP have been in contact with the property owner, and the complainant has been notified. So currently, as of September 30th, we had no complaints open. Everything has been closed up. And my recommendation there is resolved that council receive the bylaw enforcement report for the period ending September 30th. As presented by myself.
Okay, mover and seconder. Councilor Penn and Councilor Clark. Any questions? All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried.
My last report is regarding the social media progress report. This is number 3 since we've started 2 Facebook pages. One is the Adelaide Metcalfe Facebook page, and the other one is the Adelaide Metcalfe Fire Department Facebook page. Council approved a social media policy as well as the creation of these 2 Facebook pages, and as part of the creation of the Facebook page, council directed staff to update council every 6 months with a progress report on the feedback from the information that's being posted on the pages. So under the summary there, so since I last reported in June, we have an additional 58 page likes to the Township of Adelaide Metcalfe Facebook page. So that brings our total to 237 people who have liked our page. We also have 261 page followers. And the time frame of when the highest activity on our page is taking place is between 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. daily, with the majority showing a location as Strathroy. So I've listed the top 5 posts from our Facebook page that reached the number of people, and based on gender information, 72% are women and 26% are men, and the majority are between the ages of 25 to 44. So there's the top 5 there. We have not received any negative comments or messages since the inception of our Facebook page. We are currently at a 31-minute response time, which is down from 49 minutes with 100% accuracy meaning all messages to the township through Facebook Messenger are being responded by myself. The Adelaide Metcalfe Fire Department Kerwood Facebook page, since my last report in June, we have an additional 36 page likes, bringing us to a total of 105, and we have 111 page followers. The time frame of when the highest activity is taking place is between 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. daily, with the majority showing a location as Strathroy. And I've listed what the top 5 posts, and based on the gender information, 51% are women, 47% are men, and the majority are between the ages of 45 and 54 years of age. We haven't received any negative comments on this Facebook page either. And a note for council is some of the social media posts will count towards the public education compliance factor with emergency management. Financial impact, there are no major financial implications with the upkeep and posting of the information on the 2 pages. Currently myself is maintaining both pages and keeping up to date information on the pages without any complications. My recommendation to council is that council receive my report as presented.
Any questions or comments? Mover and seconder for the recommendation, Councillor Brody and Deputy Hendricks. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Okay, thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Okay, our next staff reports from our CEO Treasurer, Kathy.
Thank you, Mayor Smith. My first report is the invoice payment approval for the period September 13, 2019 to October 4, 2019 in the amount of $1,324,471.43.
Okay, is there any questions at all on the accounts? Councillor Clark.
The last of the 4,192, the Maze excavating, that will be assessed to the property owner, is that correct?
Yes, it will.
Thank you.
Any other questions at all? No. Okay, so we need a motion to resolve that council approve the accounts listing for the period September 13th to October 4th, 2019 in the account, in the amount of $1,324,471.43 as presented. Okay, Councillor Clark and Councillor Brody, all those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. It's easier to say one big number compared to county council where I have to go through like 10 of them.
They're all big numbers.
Yeah, they're all big numbers and it's all the different, yeah, it's more of a pain. Yeah, go ahead.
My second report is in regard to the site plan agreement for 28610 Center Road. I'm pleased to report to council that the site plan agreement has been amended and complied with on the side of the proponent. Our solicitor has received the original signed agreements, which were being sent out to the office today. They are requesting that they would be executed. The next step is for the agreement to go back to County Council for approval, as Middlesex County is also a party to the agreement. All of the security requirements are in place, and we've received copies from the solicitor. And the recommendation is that council receive the site plan agreement 28610 Center Road report as prepared by the CAO Treasurer, and that council approve the site plan and development agreement for 28610 Center Road and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the site plan and development agreement with 2414959 Ontario Inc., the Township of Adelaide Metcalfe, and the County of Middlesex.
Okay, is there any questions or comments at all? Okay, so the first one there, which is resolved that council receive the site plan agreement, mover and seconder, Councillor Cannon, seconded by Councillor Brody. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. And the second one is to resolve that council approve the site plan development agreement for 28610 Center Road and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the site plan agreement with 2414959 Ontario Inc., the Township of Adelaide Metcalfe, and the County of Middlesex. Okay. Councillor Brody and Deputy Hendricks. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. I just, before we go on to the next one, I just want to say this is really exciting. It's a long time coming. I remember Betty Ann and I were on council when the first ground breaking ceremony happened. I think it was 2011 or 2012.
Blair or something.
Yeah. And then we've gone through this is the third, I think, developer that was on that property. The site plan has changed quite a bit since the first one that was approved. There was supposed to be a road going, all the way through over to Strathroy Industrial Park and everything else, and that obviously will not be happening. But it's exciting to have this finally happen, and we're finally getting that hotel that's much needed in our community. So I'm really excited to see that open. I'm not going to be over there. I told Jennifer a while ago they wanted to do a groundbreaking ceremony. I said we already broke ground on that property back in
We're not gonna
2001.
jinx it.
I'm like, we're not breaking it again. And I'll be there for ribbon cutting, and that's what I'll be there for. But you know, we're not breaking the ground again because it was already broke. So I'm really excited that this is actually happening. So.
Next report is in regard to Kerwood Park improvements. Improvements to the Kerwood Park have been discussed not only by this council but previous councils. Minor improvements to the park have been undertaken over the past few years, such as improving bleacher seating areas, player seating, and extending the parking lot. Council received a report from the former Public Works Manager in regards to park improvements that could be undertaken at minimal cost to the township and were safety related. The public meeting held on September 24th was well attended and focused on the creation of a hub and Kerwood Park improvements. The report from meeting facilitator Brian Boyle has been received and circulated as correspondence on CC 15 of this council meeting. From the meeting and summary report, there was overwhelming support to make improvements to the Kerwood Park, which would include provision of washroom facilities and address accessibility concerns, but not necessarily construct a community hall. Staff is seeking direction from council to engage a consultant to prepare a concept and layout for the Kerwood Park, as well as obtain cost estimates for consideration. The financial impact: the cost to engage a consultant to prepare a plan and estimates of cost was not budgeted for in 2019. The township did receive an unconditional provincial grant of $308,000, which can be utilized in any manner council sees fit. There is $239,000 in the Recreation Reserve Fund. Staff will research grant opportunities for the project as well. The recommendation is that council approve the Kerwood Park Improvements Report as presented by the CEO Treasurer. That council authorize staff to engage a consultant to prepare a plan and cost estimates for a washroom, pavilion, storage building for the Kerwood Park. And that council direct staff to prepare a report and cost estimate on proposed playing field improvements, dugout replacement, playground equipment, paving parking area, park fencing, and general beautification with consideration for improving accessibility and safety in and around the park.
Discussion at all? Councilor McKinnon?
Through you, Mayor Curtis, to the administrator, who did you have in mind in sending the proposed concept plan out to?
If I don't have anyone in mind at the moment, just to see who is available and how quickly we can get the turnaround on it. There is some grants available through the province, a shared grant between the feds and the provincial, but the application deadline is November the 12th. So to have cost estimates, we need someone who's available rather quickly. So that's why it's not directed to anyone specific. It's to see who's available and what the cost is to engage a consultant.
The reason I asked, we were unsuccessful in the past in getting a consultant to apply, and both Steve McDonald and the chap in Strathroy Caradoc have offered to lend assistance to look at what we might be able to do at the park. So that was just my thought, that we might be able to go that route, but that was just a thought.
And I mean, that would be who we would go to consulting on the proposed playing field improvements and those beautification. But to actually get plans and a report on the cost of building a building, we would have to go to an engineer of some sort eventually, because we do need the proper documentation and support behind it.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments? So our first motion in front of us is to resolve that council receive the Kerwood Park Improvements Report as presented by the CEO Treasurer, Councilor Brody and Deputy Hendricks. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. And next one is resolve that council authorize staff to engage a consultant to prepare a plan and cost estimates for a washroom / pavilion storage building for the Kerwood Park. Okay. Deputy Hendricks and Councilor Clark. Questions? Councilor McKinnon.
I wondered if, rather than a full-blown washroom, if it might be to our benefit and the park's benefit in having something similar to the Lions project in Glencoe, where it's a concession booth and storage and public washrooms. But it's not a big washroom area, just washrooms.
I believe that's what this
That's
is.
what
That would be, I think that's what.
That's exactly what I was thinking of, is
Okay.
it is Lions Park
I didn't
Pavilion.
understand that, so thank you.
So yeah, it'd be all one encompassing
One
building
complex.
Exactly.
One-
with
one
washroom,
building.
storage, and pavilion area all together.
Okay. Thanks for clarifying.
All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. And then lastly, resolve that council direct staff to prepare a report and cost estimates on proposed playground field improvements, dugout replacements, playground equipment, paving, parking areas, park fencing, and general beautification with consideration of improving accessibility and safety in and around the park.
Just make sure we add in here, like, look at lighting and the backstops and basically a total.
Playing field improvements is envisioning, the entire area that needs to be looked at, so.
I think we pretty well knocked every box off for the park with all those ones on there.
Yeah.
Okay, so moved by Councillor Brody, seconded by Councillor Clark. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried.
Hopefully we can find somebody. That's the
Yeah.
challenge, right?
Next report is in regards to administration office renovations, proposal. During the 2019 budget discussions, council was advised of accessibility issues at the administration office. It was noted that space in the administration building was not being effectively used. One of the takeaways from the September 24th Highland Park improvement meeting was to explore the cost to improve existing facilities to be accessible and fully functioning before contemplating new facilities. The design and plans for the current administration office were prepared by the former Township of Adelaide by Street Associates in 1988. The rear offices were added in 2000. Street Associates have provided a price of $12,500 plus HST to create interior design concept plans to relocate existing rooms, repurpose existing space, and upgrade interior for standards. If council wishes to proceed with advancing the design drawings to construction documents for temporary construction, the design cost will be absorbed within the 10% of construction cost fee for professional services. The concept plans will identify renovations required to be compliant with AODA and provide guidance in maximizing the use of the building. The township will be in a greater position to apply for grants that the township may qualify for by having these plans readily available. The financial impact. The cost for the engineering or concept plans for the administration office had not been budgeted for in 2019. The township did receive an unconditional provincial grant of $308,000, which can be utilized in the manner the council sees fit. The recommendation is that council receive the administration office renovations proposal report as presented by the CEO Treasurer, and that council approve the proposal from Street Associates for creation of renovation concept plans for the township administration office.
Councillor McKinnon?
Have we seen those plans?
They're
That
not, they're
Streets
not.
They're not done
No,
yet.
we're asking for permission to proceed with preparing the plans.
Okay, it said that council approved the proposal from Spritz for creation, sorry. I think I better go to bed earlier tonight.
We're just looking at utilizing some of that 300,000 is to find efficiencies and effective use of the money, and it may be that becoming more compliant with the office and using more of our space here may be an effective way to use that money.
Yep, bye.
Through you to Kathy again, would an architectural designer be more adept at the creation of office space?
That's who we contacted at Spreets. They have an architect
They have
on
an
staff,
architect.
and she is specifically an architect, and that's all she does is architectural design.
I believe Spreets, they were the ones that designed North Middlesex, their office,
Yes.
and I'm not sure if they also designed Luke Medolph's.
I believe they had some
Somebody
input
else?
into
Okay.
it, but yeah.
They did Southwest as well,
Yes.
and that was all refigured afterwards.
So we have the two recommendations in front of us, and the first one is to receive the report. Commissioner Hendricks and Councillor Brody. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Is there any more discussion on the proposal?
I think we certainly have to know what it costs to renovate this before we consider anything else. So,
Well, we've all agreed it's underutilized, like we could,
Yeah.
we don't really need this space up here, we could rejig it downstairs somehow, but that's up to them to come up with an idea. And it has to be accessible, that's the legal requirement, so.
And I think the one thing that the public doesn't realize is that this building is not accessible. Just because there's a ramp that goes up to the front door and there's a ramp that goes down to the basement, that doesn't mean that it's accessible at all. Actually, those ramps are not at the right slope or grade. The entranceway doesn't have enough area in front of the front door outside. There's a lot of things that need to be improved, and I just want to make sure that, you know, if this is approved, that the public understands that this $12,500 is going to be money well spent, because it's money that we need to be spending to make sure that we are compliant.
Well, does that
to
door
everything.
not open out and it's supposed to open in?
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's building code issues too.
Okay, so we have a mover and seconder for the proposal from Streets Associates, Deputy Mayor Hendricks and Councillor Brody. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
The next report is the municipal contribution for floodplain mapping phase 2 from the St. Clair Region Conservation Authority. On May 21st, 2019, Council received correspondence from the St. Clair Region Conservation Authority regarding phase 2 of the National Disaster Mitigation Program floodplain mapping project. The municipal portion of the project is $135,000 to be levied amongst the participating municipalities based on modified current value assessment used for the levy of the St. Clair Region Conservation Authority budget. The Adelaide Metcalfe portion of the floodplain mapping phase 2 is $4,949.05. The St. Clair Region Conservation Authority has the project was not originally presented in the 2019 budget, municipalities have the option to pay their portion in 2020. I've included some correspondence that has come from the St. Clair Conservation, just providing an update on the floodplain mapping project. The recommendation is that Council receive the municipal contribution for floodplain mapping phase 2 St. Clair Region Conservation Authority as presented by the report as presented by the CEO Treasurer, and that Council defer payment of invoice of $4,949.05 being the Adelaide Metcalfe portion of the floodplain mapping phase 2 project of the St. Clair Region Conservation until 2020, and that this amount be incorporated into the 2020 township budget.
Okay, so we'll work with receiving the report, submitted by Councillor Clark. All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. Moved by Councillor McKinnon and seconded by Councillor Clark for deferring the payment till 2020. Is there any discussion on that one? All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried.
My next report was the one that was added this evening. It's in regards to the conditional building permit agreement for 28610 Center Road. Council has received a report on the agenda this evening related to the final approval of the site plan development agreement for 28610 Center Road. Once approved by Adelaide Metcalfe Council, the site plan and development agreement will need to be approved by the County of Middlesex Council. The county is a party to the site plan agreement as the county has jurisdiction over Center Road and the streetlights. The next meeting at which this agreement can be considered by County Council is Tuesday, October 22nd, 2019. As Council is aware, the proponent is anxious to begin construction at the site. Middlesex County Barristers and Solicitor's Office have recommended that a conditional building permit agreement be entered into with the owner of the property. This is an interim measure to allow foundation and site servicing work to begin. The conditional building permit agreement will allow the issuance of a foundation permit to begin construction. The property owner is responsible for all costs and any remediation required related to beginning construction before the final execution and registration of the site plan agreement. There are two recommendations. One, that Council receive the conditional building permit 28610 Center Road report as presented by the CEO Treasurer, and that Council approve the conditional building permit agreement for 28610 Center Road and authorize the Mayor and Clerk to sign the conditional building permit agreement with 2414959 Ontario Inc. and the Township of Adelaide Metcalfe.
Okay, mover and seconder for receiving the report, Councillor Clark and Councillor Brody. All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. And mover and seconder for approval of the conditional building permit. Okay, Councillor Brody and Councillor McKinnon. All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. Okay, do you have anything else? Okay. Into other business. Do you have anything for other business at all? No. I just have just one item I just want to bring up, and it's regarding an email that I forwarded on to council members and staff in regards to a complaint regarding the trees being removed along the road allowance. I talked to Kathy about that, and Kathy's going to contact Mark Brown, the forestry and weed inspector at the county, to see if we can get some information from him, and maybe if county council is willing to look at the possibility of having a policy that looks even at tree lines instead of just looking at the woodlot areas. As you could see from the emails, this person was very upset about this. So Kathy is
There's no
addressing
policies now?
that. The only policy regarding tree removal is if it's in a woodlot. Yeah, and then you have to go to county council to ask for an exemption to remove the trees, and you either have to pay an amount or you have to replant somewhere else.
I also received rather well, it wasn't a complaint, but it was a pretty negative comment about those trees coming out, but it was, I think, done because the field was tiled, or as the field was tiled, those trees were taken out. But
No, the field was done being tiled and they were taken out after.
oh, really?
And
Okay.
just finished them today.
Hmm.
Fields
The trees
been
or the
tiled.
tile?
The trees.
Oh, okay.
Farm's been tiled for, probably been done for 2 or 3 weeks. And then the tree removal started after that.
So I just wanted to make sure that you guys knew that, yeah, staff is looking into that. I believe either Chris Trainee, the county engineer, or Mark Brown have been out or will be looking at that as well, so. Okay, before we go into the closed session, if we can have a motion to go to recess for the next, say, 5 to 10 minutes, or however long it takes Grant to do some interviews. Mover and seconder for recess, Councillor Brody and Councillor McKinnon. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. So I need a motion to reconvene from the recess. Okay, Councillor McKinnon and Councillor Brody. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Now we need a motion to resolve that council hold a closed session meeting as provided for as per section 239(2) of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended. Under section 239(2)B, personnel matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, and C, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board at 8:34. Deputy Mayor Hendricks and Councillor McKinnon, all those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. So we just ended our closed session at 9:25, and that was under section 239(2)B and C, and I believe we just have one item for the Rising Report.
Resolve that council directs staff to proceed as discussed in closed session.
Okay, mover and seconder for that, Deputy Hendricks and Councillor Brody, all those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Okay, and our bylaws. We resolve that all 3 readings be given to bylaw number 63 of 2019, the site plan agreement for 28610 Center Road. Bylaw number 64 of 2019, the salary and wage pay grid. And bylaw number 65 of 2019, confirm council proceedings, and that the bylaws be signed by the mayor and clerk and the corporate seal be attached. Okay, Councillor McKinnon and Deputy Hendricks, all those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. And if there's nothing else, motion to adjourn at, let's say 9:26, 27. I think things on 26. Councillor Clark and Councillor McKinnon. All those in favor? And that's carried.